starting your privacy journey by thinking about like what is your actual goal is vital to making sure that not only do you make the most practical and useful steps for yourself earlier, but you also don't go too far. Something that is just not talked about nearly as much as it should within the privacy space is this idea of threat modeling. So it's just, what do you have to protect? Who are you trying to protect it from? Awesome. And how far are you willing to go to protect it? And it's a very simple concept. It can take a lot of time if you're very, very detail oriented. It could take not a lot of time if you just sit down and think through it quickly. But starting your privacy journey by thinking about like what is your actual goal is vital to making sure that not only do you make the most practical and useful steps for yourself earlier, but you also don't go too far. Like I've mentioned it a couple of times already, but myself and almost everyone I talk to who has started to take this privacy journey have gone too far at some point and made it much more difficult for ourselves, gotten burnt out. And a lot of that comes when you don't think about like, who actually am I? Who actually wants my data? How far can I practically go without really harming my actual life, like the flourishing that I want to experience? If you don't think about that, you generally will go with this like paranoid threat model of like the NSA is specifically targeting me kind of threat model. One that maybe is realistic for you, the listener, is not realistic for the vast majority of people and can cause a lot of problems. So starting out by threat modeling, thinking through those three things, making sure that you understand where you want to go, and then just taking actionable steps. I mean, one that we didn't touch on yet, but one that I think is really vital is finding a community who can really help you out on that journey. That could be a community around a podcast like yours. That could be people that you already know in real life, maybe who care about personal privacy. That could be a community on Twitter. It doesn't have to be a community in a perfectly privacy preserving tool either. It can be something that's social and that involves getting together and maybe involves not the most perfect privacy, but that community is going to be the vital piece to make sure that you actually are able to achieve this. Because like it or not, we're social beings. Like humans are not meant to do things like this alone. We're not meant to cut all ties, to not have relationships. We need other people around us, and having other people who can actually support you and also help to maybe limit how aggressively you jump into this, give you some caution when you're maybe going a little too far, is really, really important. Beyond that, we touched on a few of the other things. Jumping into a good browser is one of those changes where like it can actually really benefit your life. It's not painful. Like jumping from something like Chrome to Brave browser will have immense privacy impacts, but also just getting rid of a lot of the crud on the internet makes things easier and makes life more enjoyable when you're browsing. So I think that's a great place to start for most people. From a privacy and security perspective, using a password manager, something like Proton Pass or Bitwarden, so that you're not reusing the same password across all your accounts is really important. And I think people normally think about this just from a security perspective. But when you think about if someone gets access to your accounts, you do lose your security, but you also lose all your privacy. If you lose access to your Gmail because you've reused the same password on 27 different sites, and one of those sites loses their password database, you lose all the privacy of everything that happened there. Not only was it revealed to Google because you're using Gmail, but now it's revealed to that hacker and anyone he chooses to show that to or sell that to. So that's another important.
It's normally like the aspect. Random, like, parking meter company that you go and stick the email address and password you use for everything. It's like, well, now you're given the ticket to go and have a look at your Gmail. Yeah, that's a disaster.
Yep. Yeah, something you're not even thinking about at the moment, but something that can have really broad-ranging impacts. And just using a password manager is another one of those things where it seems very daunting at first, but once you actually use a password manager day to day, your life is so much easier. Like I have to remember one password and I can get into any account that I have with all of them being very, very well secured. That actual user experience is a huge improvement. But it does take some time to go ahead and rotate those passwords and all these accounts to save them. Like it is a process, but it's another one of those things that's actually a benefit to everyday life.